Yes, another board member replied, but the investors don't. One already pulled out this morning. They want to see stability. And they don't want you tied to a scandal. She is not a scandal. She is now, the third man said coldly, placing a folder on the table. Inside were printed screenshots. Old photos. Gossip headlines. Even edited images implying Amelia was pregnant. Where did you get this? Adrian asked, voice trembling. We believe your mother's team leaked it to the press. He stood up so fast, the chair screeched behind him. You want me to abandon her based on rumors? We want you to protect the company. And if I don't? The oldest board member, Mr. Ferris, leaned forward slowly. You'll be removed. Quietly. Respectfully. But permanently. Back in the lobby, Amelia asked the receptionist for Adrian, but they told her he was in a private board meeting. She was about to leave when a voice behind her said, Amelia. She turned. It was Bianca. Dressed in an expensive black dress, hair sleek, smile fake. Well. The famous Amelia. You came late. Again. I didn't come for you, Bianca. Bianca smirked. Too bad. Because I'm the one who actually fits into his world. Amelia's eyes narrowed. You leaked that blog post, didn't you? Bianca didn't even flinch. What if I did? It's nothing personal, sweetheart. It's business. You were never meant to last. Amelia stepped closer. I'd rather be poor with my dignity than rich with your kind of soul. Before Bianca could respond, a door burst open upstairs. Adrian stepped out, his face flushed with anger and pain. Amelia, he called. She turned. She froze. He rushed down the stairs, barely acknowledging anyone else. When he reached her, he didn't speak. He didn't ask questions. He just pulled her into a hug so tight, it felt like he was trying to hold on to her and his sanity at once. I thought you weren't coming, he whispered. I almost didn't. They stayed like that for a moment until Adrian pulled back and looked into her eyes. There's something I need to tell you. She nodded slowly. They gave me a choice. You, or my company. Her heart dropped. And I told them I'd give them my resignation in the morning. Amelia stepped back. What? Adrian, no. I've built enough. I'm not building a life that doesn't include you. But your father's legacy. I'm not my father. I'm a man. And I choose peace. I choose love. I choose you. Before Amelia could respond, a loud voice rang from across the lobby. No, you don't. Everyone turned. It was Margaret Carson. Standing beside her was a woman in a red blouse, with a baby bump. Adrian, Margaret said, walking closer, you might want to hear what your ex-fiancé has to say. The woman stepped forward, looking uncomfortable but determined. I didn't want to come here like this, but I'm pregnant. And it's yours. Amelia went pale. Adrian looked like the world had just been ripped from under his feet. What are you talking about? He asked. It was before you met her, Margaret added quickly. But it changes everything. You have a responsibility now. I haven't even seen you in over a year, Adrian whispered. You're lying. The woman shook her head. No. I'm not. Margaret smirked. Now, are you still willing to throw everything away for this girl? Adrian looked at Amelia. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. But her silence was louder than 1,000 protests. He reached for her hand. But she stepped back. And this time, she walked away. Amelia didn't run. She walked, slowly, deliberately, through the front doors of Carson Group's headquarters, past the crowd of onlookers, past the curious stares, and into the street. Her hands trembled. Not from what the woman in the red blouse said, but from the fact that Adrian hadn't denied it immediately. He hesitated. He reached for her, but he didn't say it's not true. He didn't say, this is a lie. And that was enough to break her. Behind her, Adrian stood frozen, his mother's smug expression burning into the back of his mind. The woman beside her rubbed her belly and played her part with quiet confidence. I haven't seen you in over a year, Adrian repeated. Why now? The woman sighed. Because I didn't know until 3 weeks ago. And I thought you deserved to know. You deserve an Oscar, Bianca muttered under her breath. Adrian ignored them. He turned back to the crowd that had formed. But Amelia was gone. And this time, he didn't know if he could bring her back. For 3 days, Adrian tried everything. He called her line, switched off. He went to her house, no answer. He asked Kelvin, he didn't know. He even offered Lydia money just to tell him if Amelia was okay. But Lydia didn't take the money. Her conscience, finally, had started to catch fire. She said she needed space, Lydia admitted. Said she was tired of fighting a battle that didn't belong to her. Did she say where she went? Adrian asked. Lydia shook her head. But if I were her, I'd run far from all this too. Adrian left quietly. And for the first time in years, he cancelled every business meeting and checked into a small guest house in the outskirts of town. No staff. No press. No cameras. He needed to think. He replayed everything from the start, the first time he saw Amelia standing at his office door, her quiet laugh, her sad eyes, the way she hugged her back tightly whenever she felt out of place. And the way she made him feel like he was enough even before he proved anything. On the other side of town, Amelia sat at a church retreat center, deep in a quiet village her aunt had told her about. No phones. No news. Just her, a small journal, and the sounds of birds at dawn. She tried to pray. Tried to sleep. Tried to forget. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Adrian. And what scared her most was that she still loved him. How could you love someone who might have given another woman a child? How could you stay where you were constantly being reminded of your place? She felt like a stranger in her own heart. But just as she tried to escape the noise, it came knocking. Her cousin ran into the retreat center, holding a radio in her hand. They're talking about you again. What now? Amelia asked, her voice dull. It's the woman. The pregnant one. She's been caught in a lie. Amelia sat up. Her cousin twisted the dial to turn up the volume. A reporter was speaking. Shocking twist today as leaked footage reveals that Melissa Grant, the woman who claimed to be carrying the child of billionaire CEO Adrian Carson, was, in fact, paid by a third party to fabricate the story. Medical records show no pregnancy ever existed. Rumors suggest the mastermind behind the scandal may be none other than Margaret Carson, the CEO's mother. Amelia stood up, her hand over her mouth. She lied, she whispered. Her cousin nodded. All of it. To break you two up. Amelia sat back down, stunned. Her heart screamed. How many times had she cried herself to sleep over something that wasn't even real? But just as the truth began to bring relief, another thought crept in. Why didn't Adrian say something that day? Why didn't he fight harder in that moment? Back in the city, Margaret was facing her own consequences. The board had discovered her involvement in the media scandal. Investors threatened legal action. Her image, once untouchable, was collapsing. She had built empires, crushed competitors, and manipulated reputations, but in all her years, she had never met someone like Amelia, someone she couldn't break completely. She sat in her office with Bianca pacing beside her. This girl is a cockroach, Margaret muttered. She survives everything. Should we offer her a settlement again? No. She won't take it. Not this one. She's dangerous. Then what do we do? Margaret looked up slowly. We find her weakness. Adrian had just returned from his private retreat when Lydia showed up at his apartment. She looked nervous. I found something, she said. Adrian frowned. About Amelia. She nodded and handed him a manila envelope. Inside were letters. Handwritten. Folded neatly. Dated 2 years ago. She used to write to her father, Lydia said. After he disappeared. He left when she was 13. Yes, Lydia said slowly. But he didn't just leave. Adrian looked up. He was taken, she whispered. By police. For fraud. He used to scam women out of money online. And Amelia found out, she confronted him. He slapped her and left that night. Never returned. Adrian stared at the letters. The handwriting shook. The words were raw. Dear Daddy. I still don't know if you ever loved us, but I want you to know I forgive you. I hope you're alive somewhere, and I hope you're not hurting more people like you hurt us. Adrian closed the envelope. He suddenly understood everything, the shame, the silence, the walls she built, the fear of attention. She wasn't running from him. She was afraid the past would catch up and destroy whatever good she tried to hold on to. He stood. I need to find her. Now. I can help, Lydia said. It's time I fix what I broke. But what Adrian didn't know was that someone else was already ahead of him. Margaret had found Amelia's retreat location. And she wasn't going to beg. She was going to destroy. Amelia stood at the back of the chapel, watching the last group of retreat members file out after evening prayers. Her hands were folded in front of her chest. For the first time in weeks, her breathing had slowed. She almost felt peace again. Almost. Until she turned around. And saw Margaret Carson standing in the hallway. Wearing all black. Eyes like polished glass. There were no guards this time. No drivers. No public display. Just one woman, with an agenda. Amelia stiffened. Her heart raced, but her feet remained planted. Interesting place you found to hide, Margaret said, slowly walking toward her. I'm not hiding, Amelia replied calmly. I came here to heal. Healing. Margaret smirked. From a wound you caused yourself? Amelia didn't flinch. You lied. You tried to ruin your own son's life. Margaret let out a cold laugh. Ruined? No, dear. I preserved it. You think you're the first girl to cry her way into a billionaire's heart. I've seen your type since before you were born. I'm not crying. No, Margaret said, stepping closer. You're scheming. Quietly. Carefully. Manipulating my son into thinking you're the answer to his emptiness. I didn't ask him to choose me. But he did, Margaret snapped. And because of that choice, I lost 3 investors and a public scandal that nearly cost us our board. All for you. Amelia blinked, but her voice remained steady. Then maybe you should look in the mirror. You started the lie. You invited the chaos. Margaret leaned in, her tone dropping. I came here to offer you one last warning. Leave Adrian for good. Go far. Disappear. If you don't. You do what? Amelia interrupted. Silence. For the first time, Margaret looked caught off guard. You spread more lies. Fake another pregnancy. Bribe someone else in my family to betray me. Go ahead. I've already lost everything that matters, except my dignity. And I won't let you take that too. You're bold now, Margaret hissed. No, Amelia said. I'm just tired. Tired of being bullied by a woman who's afraid her son might actually be happy for once. Margaret's face darkened. You regret this? No. I regret not standing up for myself. That's what I've been doing all my life, shrinking so others could feel bigger. But not anymore. Margaret stepped back slowly. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. She simply turned and walked out, her heels clicking like distant thunder. Outside the chapel, she got into a black car and picked up her phone. Bianca, she said. It's time. At that very moment, Adrian was speeding down the highway with Lydia in the passenger seat, guiding him toward the village retreat. He didn't speak much. His grip on the steering wheel was tight. His eyes were laser-focused. But inside, he was unraveling. How did she find out about the pregnancy lie? He finally asked. Lydia shifted in her seat. I think someone leaked a voice recording. Bianca's friend. Malice confessed everything during a phone call, bragging about the money she got. Someone captured it and sent it to the media. Adrian clenched his jaw. Bianca and my mother were working together all along. Lydia nodded slowly. And I helped them. Even if I didn't know how deep it went. She's your sister, Adrian said. You betrayed your sister. I know, Lydia whispered. And I'll never forgive myself. Adrian didn't say anything. He just pressed harder on the pedal. They reached the chapel grounds just as the sun was beginning to set. Adrian jumped out, scanning the area, heart racing. He saw her. Standing under a tree, hands wrapped around herself, staring at the sky. He didn't call her name. He just walked up behind her. And softly said, it's all been lies, except what I feel for you. Amelia turned, startled. For a moment, she just stared at him. As if unsure if he was real. You found me, she whispered. I never stopped looking. She didn't respond. I didn't know what to say that day, he confessed. You walked away before I could think. I should have chased you. I should have screamed. But all I could feel was fear that I had lost the only person who made me feel like a human being. I was hurt, Amelia replied. Because I needed you to say something. Anything. I know, he said, voice cracking. And I failed. But not anymore. He reached into his pocket. Not a ring. Not flowers. But her letters. The ones she had written to her father. I read them, he said. And I finally understood. She looked away, embarrassed. Those weren't meant for you. I know, he said. But they saved me. Just like you did. He stepped closer. You think you're not enough. But Amelia, you're more than enough. You're the strongest woman I've ever known. You've carried broken people. You've survived betrayal. You've loved when you had every reason not to. He paused. I don't want to live a life that doesn't have you in it. Amelia looked at him. Her eyes were soft but weary. I'm tired, Adrian. I know, he said, placing a hand on her cheek. Let me carry you for a while. She closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. And she didn't resist when he pulled her into his arms. But just as peace began to settle, a phone buzzed. Lydia answered it. Her face went pale. It's Bianca, she whispered. She just leaked a video of Amelia's father being arrested. What? Amelia gasped. Adrian took the phone. It was already trending. CEO's girlfriend, daughter of a known internet fraudster. The video showed a younger Amelia crying in the background while her father was handcuffed and dragged into a police van. The damage had been done. And the world was watching. Again. The video was everywhere. Within an hour, news blogs, gossip pages, and business forums picked it up. Carson's fiancé linked to cyber fraud family history. CEOs love life spirals into crisis as father-in-law's criminal past surfaces. Some posted sympathy. Most posted poison. Screenshots of Amelia's younger face, crying behind police tape, went viral. Twitter spaces were buzzing with people debating if Adrian should step down. Investors panicked. The board called for an emergency meeting. And Amelia, shattered. She sat on the chapel floor with her arms wrapped around her knees. Her back against the altar. Her breathing shallow. I tried to bury this, she whispered. I did everything I could to move past it. But now, it's everywhere again. Adrian sat beside her. He didn't try to speak at first. He knew when to hold her and when to just be there. It's not your fault, he finally said. It's my name. My blood. My shame, she replied. This is what your mother warned you about? This is the price of choosing me. He reached for her hand. Then I'll pay it. Twice. Her eyes met his. I've faced boardrooms full of sharks, he said. But none of them scared me as much as the thought of losing you. So let them come. Let them vote. Let them post. I won't let go. But your company. I built that company from scratch. They don't own me. And they can't shame me out of love. At the Carson Group boardroom that same evening, Margaret Carson stood at the center of the glass table, waving a printed screenshot of the video. We are officially a joke, she said, voice tight and commanding. We are trending for all the wrong reasons. Investors want answers. The chairman leaned forward. What are you proposing? A vote, she said. To remove Adrian as CEO until this mess is cleaned up. A pause. One of the board members, Mr. Ferris, spoke. He's your son. No. He's a liability, she answered coldly. Just as the votes were about to be counted, the door opened. Adrian walked in, calm and confident, holding Amelia's hand. Gasps erupted across the room. Cameras flashed. Several assistants quickly took out their phones to record. Before you vote, Adrian said, I have something to say. The chairman raised an eyebrow. Make it quick. Adrian stepped forward. I built Carson Group. Not for gossip blogs. Not for legacy games. But to serve people. To solve problems. To give value. That hasn't changed. He held up Amelia's hand. This woman you're trying to shame. She's survived things most of you can't imagine. She's stronger than anyone I've ever worked with. And yes, her father made terrible mistakes. But she didn't. He looked around the room. If loving someone who's been broken is a crime, then you have to punish me. He turned to Margaret. You raised me to be powerful. But you forgot to teach me how to be kind. Amelia did that. A pause. So, here's my offer, if you want me gone, vote now. But know this, the world is watching. And if you punish a woman for a crime she didn't commit, then you are the criminals. Silence. Tension so thick it could be carved with a knife. Mr. Ferris stood slowly. I vote he stays. One by one, the other members followed. 4-1. Margaret was the only no. She stood stiffly, face blank, fury burning just beneath her skin. As she stormed out of the boardroom, her heels echoed like thunder. But the storm wasn't over. Because back at the lobby, a young intern had just posted a photo of Amelia and Adrian standing hand in hand, captioned. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like healing. The post went viral. Hashtag Amelia strong. Hashtag we choose love. Hashtag he stood by her. But the fire wasn't done burning. That night, Bianca showed up at Margaret's house. Tears in her eyes. What have I done? She asked. Margaret poured herself wine. What you were told? No, Bianca said, trembling. I ruined lives. I lied about a pregnancy. I planted